I've never been a fan of beauty pageants. Certainly any beauty pageant involving children is creepy and bizarre, to put it mildly. Adult beauty pageants are perhaps not so viscerally disturbing, nor necessarily inappropriate, but still, they've never really interested me. And yet, as to this latter category, I can understand the idea behind them. That's because the concept is very basic. In some ways, it's the most basic of concepts. It's an opportunity to admire and celebrate beautiful women, which is something that human beings have always done through history and in every culture. In fact, beauty pageants can trace their lineage back to the Middle Ages. They weren't called beauty pageants at the time, but the idea was basically the same. Get together all the beautiful women in a certain area and crown one of them the most beautiful of all. Now, whether this is a worthwhile activity is a different question, but at least the activity is comprehensible. It serves a function. Whatever else you might say about that function, it still serves one. But what happens when an event meant to celebrate beautiful women removes both of the elements of the thing that it's supposed to be celebrating? What happens when your culture goes so completely insane that beauty pageants no longer care about whether a woman is beautiful or even whether she's actually a woman? What happens is you end up with the debacle known as Miss Universe. The annual Miss Universe pageant was held in El Salvador this weekend. Miss Universe has been running for 72 years, and for most of those 7 decades, it went the way that beauty pageants typically go. It made sense in its way. It did what beauty pageants are supposed to do, which is celebrate beautiful women. Yet, in the era of wokeness, nothing in the grip of the disease is allowed to do what it is supposed to do. That especially includes beauty pageants. The greater absurdity, of course, is the presence of the quote-unquote trans women, otherwise known as men, who managed to be crowned the most beautiful women of their respective countries in order to win a spot in the Miss Universe pageant, which is a pretty brutal insult to the actual women of Portugal and the Netherlands. Now, keep in mind as you see that this is the absolute best that a man can hope to achieve in his effort to become a woman. This is the product of thousands of dollars of makeup, plastic surgery, professional stylists, makeup artists, lighting, all the rest of it. Like all of this effort and time and money gone into their appearance. And yet, even these two, competing in an international beauty pageant as women, still, they look nothing like actual women. Now, it's no surprise, though, that they made it on stage, given that the person who runs the company that now owns Miss Universe looks and sounds like this. Watch.
The Miss Universe organization from now on is going to be ran by women, owned by trans women, for all women. For all women really around the world to celebrate the power of feminism.
But he says Miss Universe is now finally run by women, except for the fact that it's run by a man. Run, as it turns out, completely into the ground. Indeed, mere days before the pageant featuring the obese woman and the women who are not women, Miss Universe filed for bankruptcy. These are, of course, not disconnected events. A beauty pageant that does not focus exclusively on beautiful women, or even just on women, serves no purpose. So say whatever you want about its original purpose, at least it had one. Now it has none. There's no reason for anyone to care about it. It's just a hodgepodge of random things happening. A fat woman walks on stage, a man walks on stage, a woman in a burqa, an Amish guy, like whatever. It's just that's what the beauty pageant is. That's just random people on stage walking around. What's the point of any of it? It has become an absurdity, a mockery. It was frivolous before. Like beauty pageants before were frivolous, but now they're incoherent. And those two things are not the same. There is a place for frivolity, but you need some of that in society. There is no place for incoherence. By definition, there is no place for it. You wouldn't know where to put it. And this is what leftism does. It is like a giant shovel that comes in, scoops out the content of a thing, leaving a gaping hole behind. And not to get too graphic, but it is perhaps not a coincidence that certain gender-affirming procedures can also be described that way. It is what leftism does in microcosm and literally, and also in macrocosm and figuratively. Take something that at least made sense, that served some kind of purpose, however important or superficial it was, and rip it to shreds. Destroy whatever meaning it had. This is what's being done to all of Western civilization, and in comparison, beauty pageants are a rather minor concern. But they serve as a warning sign, if nothing else. And that is also why Miss Universe is today, by its own choice, canceled.